Okay, so welcome.
Welcome. Hello.
This is Whole Life Crisis.
The first episode.
Starring
First, yes. Chelsea.
Austyn.
Jordan. Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
We're great. We're so great.
We're feeling real good. First time doing this. Super awkward.
Okay.
That's fine. Everything's fine. It's just a crisis. Everything's on fire.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Okay.
So we decided that we're going to start our first one off. We couldn't decide on which topic to go for, so we went with two of them, which I think is fine. We went with how we live with our parents, which is not. Don't even get us started because we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah, and what we did over quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
My God.
Yes, okay.
Still living that life.
Still living that life.
Okay, so maybe we should start with quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe that would go faster.
Yeah, maybe I think we're just gonna talk about our experiences, like kind of from the beginning of like when all this happened, like how your jobs and how your lives kind of.
And we should probably preface this by letting anyone that's listening know that we live in Indiana, and they have already made us basically go back to normal. Probably, for me and Austyn, our job is that we work at the same place. They had us go back at the beginning of May, so that's when it ended kind of for us for the most part.
Yeah, we completely reopened in June, and then we have a state mask mandate currently, which is a whole other story.
State mandate, and then like also our small little town has clearly made it like they're not gonna do anything.
Yeah, it's like fuck this, like whatever.
So,
I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
I've seen it online.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Chelsea, you start.
Yeah, how was your quarantine? And what do you do for a living? Because I feel like that's important to this.
Yeah.
At least a little bit.
So I'm a nurse. I work in surgery, and I work in a small hospital now. I used to work at a bigger hospital. So our quarantine, quarantine is a very loose word in the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
So I would say it probably, I don't know, March maybe?
Yeah.
March is when all this kind of started. End of March probably, because I remember having friends from out of state come middle of March, and then kind of like 2 weeks later, bam.
Yeah.
And it really just like happened overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, like we kind of like were hearing things about it, but I think it literally sounded like it was instantly overnight.
Mm-hmm.
The next day they canceled like all of our cases except for like emergent ones. But as each day went, the description of emergency changed, and it's still changing. Like, what do we consider an emergent case or a necessary case compared to elective? So it's still changing, like ever changing. But like in healthcare, we never really like quarantined too much, and like I said, it happened overnight. So surgery slowed down almost instantly, and it was only like C-sections and I don't know, like fractures or things that were broken that needed to be fixed, couldn't wait, and we turned one of our OR rooms into a COVID room where we removed every single piece of equipment from there and had a car outside the room that was specifically the supplies from that room. But mind you, it's not a negative pressure airflow room, so every time you open the door, even if you didn't and you were standing right outside, you were being exposed to it. So we were trying to take every precaution, and like we moved things away from that room. It's not that we still have that room, but it's not being used because we have like rapid tests now, and we're having our patients get tested. So we know we don't really need to use that unless it's like an actual like off the street kind of situation. But some of our people went to, if you had previous like experience on the floor or any other area in the hospital, you would probably go to that area. We had a couple of our people do a COVID hotline where people would call in and they would ask questions about, should I get tested? Where should I get tested? What are the symptoms? And so on, which, symptoms now are like anything and everything. Runny nose, headache.
That's what we were saying the other day at work, is that it feels like, because right now it kind of feels like an allergy season as well. I've had really bad allergies lately, and every time you look it up, you're like, I'm just gonna die.
I have COVID, it is what it is.
Yeah, and like coughing or sneezing is like suddenly a big like, oh god,
people look at you like you're
and everyone looks at you when you like cough. You're like, that's not the COVID.
Allergies are like 90% of my life, so back off.
Yeah, and we live in a town where there's like farming everywhere, so like please like just use your head.
So, I mean, pretty much that was it. Like, I ended up staying in surgery because I did not have experience anywhere else other than surgery. So, I had to pick up more call. And although we weren't doing surgeries, we still had to go in a few days a week. We rotated. So, yes, I mean, I normally work 5 days a week. So, some weeks I would only be there 3 days. And then other weeks I'd be there, you know, the opposite. Or sometimes I'd be there the full week and I'd just be taking more call. But it was pretty much just a lot of downtime and a lot of cleaning and just ever-changing rules and literally not knowing our schedule from one day to the next.
Yeah.
So it was back to that. But now we're back in full swing, maybe end of May, beginning of June. And we're doing rapid tests on patients if they didn't get their COVID test when they were supposed to, which I think if you have a surgery scheduled, you're supposed to get a COVID test like 7 days prior to your surgery, and hopefully they're quarantining before then and not coming
I have
someone before that.
I have so many patrons lately who are coming to the library and they come onto the desk looking so guilty. I'm like, hey, and they're always like, yeah, I'm getting surgery tomorrow, but man, I just want to watch this DVD so bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, you clearly. I guarantee, like, most of the people are not staying as isolated as possible before their surgery. I mean, you know, you do you, whatever. But so we're trying to, like. It is what it is. There's not really any rules, like, so yeah, but we're not getting tested. No, we're not getting tested. We're only getting tested if you vacation for more than 2 nights out of state.
We haven't
out of state.
Yeah, we haven't had any testing, which,
No testing. I've not got tested once, and I've been in the thick of this for a while. So we're using the same N95, other masks, which I get it, supplies are short. It is what it is. Yeah. That's a whole other story, but, it's no testing for us, but it doesn't make sense because I could go to Walmart here in town and get exposed within an hour, but I could go to Florida and stay in a cabin or a beach house by myself and not ever get exposed in the week that I'm there.
Yeah, and I feel like it's I feel like it's really difficult too because, like you said, policies everywhere are just changing so much because like nobody was prepared. Like it's been quite a long time since I don't know, was the Spanish flu the last like outbreak of anything? I don't really know.
I don't know, like maybe anything crazy.
Yeah, like crazy enough to shut down like everything, but
that's pretty much it though. I mean, we're kind of back full swing. I mean, things are always kind of changing. We still have our COVID room that never really gets used. I mean, and we're testing patients and hoping that it's okay. And we've had some people affected by it, but we're just taking it day by day.
What was like your personal experience though outside of work? Like, how was like the quarantine time for you? Did you do anything special? Did you bake bread? Like,
I did.
You know what I mean? It was like
I did, yeah. So that was my work quarantine. Like I said, I didn't go anywhere. Like, I went to work and I came home. Because everything was shut down. There was nothing else to do. I did get into a baking phase. I made some beer bread, which smelled so good. You couldn't find yeast anywhere in the store.
I know, it took me so long.
Everyone was buying the yeast. It was like a baking fest, a quarantine bake fest.
When I finally found it, I literally had to crawl up the shelves like a raccoon or something and reach the very back.
Everyone turned into Eddie's $1 Million Bake-Off.
Yep.
Yes, and I feel like it's kind of interesting too. Like when the world like shuts down, everyone is like pilgrims. Like we're going through a pilgrimage.
Oh my gosh! Can we talk like the toilet paper crisis? What?
Oh my god! Yeah.
I don't understand that, but I wasn't too worried, and then I got a little worried because I was like, "Oh, I'm good."
I wasn't like.
But then I was like, "It'll blow over in a week," and then I searched where I needed toilet paper, and I was like, "Am I gonna have to use like washcloth?"
Oh, yeah, well, for me, I wasn't too worried because I was like, I would love to have toilet paper, but I will make do. But, like, I can't eat toilet paper. Like, I want food. And so many of the aisles were empty. It was the first time in my life I couldn't find tortillas, like, which is really random, but I was shook by my lack of tortillas.
Yeah. I did a little bit of baking. What else did was there something else that I made that was, like, super, like, I'm sure I posted it. Beer bread was one of them. That was delicious. Oh, I made a strawberry crumb cake bar. Yes. Posted that on my Instagram. And these like homemade apple fritters. Got into a short little baking phase there. That was my quarantine, baking and Netflix.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Baking and Netflix. Yeah. Baking and Netflix. That's it.
Did you watch the tiger? Oh, was it the tiger documentary?
Oh my gosh, is it Tiger King?
Tiger King?
Oh my gosh, it's been so long, it's so short. Yes, I did too.
I did watch it because it was just like you couldn't look away.
I
couldn't look away, and it was I feel bad that I even gave that show some light.
Did you see Carol Baskin on Dancing with the Stars?
I refused to give her any. I did not watch.
I watched a little video that was on Facebook, and I just had to because it opens. I couldn't listen to it because I was taking a break at work or something, and I didn't want to be loud. But anyway, I was just watching it in silence, it starts out this guy's in a cage, and it was just everything you would expect.
Good God!
I mean, I can only imagine.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one. I lucked out. I turned it on and I was like, oh, I have a feeling that they're going to abuse animals and I'll get really sad. So I turned it off and I never went back.
There's
my friend Haley posted this. She shared something from her performance.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I want to say it, but she was talking about her performance, and it was man, she was as stiff as her dead husband's body. And I'm
wow. My God.
Wow.
She was kind of stiff, though. I mean,
apparently she fed them to her.
Yeah. I mean, his family, her ex-husband's family, did that commercial, alleged. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Allegedly. That's my favorite word. On the internet, it's my favorite.
You can say allegedly and say whatever you want.
Allegedly, we work in a hospital in a library. Anything we say cannot be used inconsistent in a court of law.
Yeah, so...
I love my job.
I do love my job. Anyway, next. That was what we got.
So you just watched it? Okay.
Okay.
I did watch it.
Okay.
Yeah. That was it. Nothing.
Okay, anyway, so I work in a library. And I don't know if I have really too much to say, but I did have a little bit of a different experience than you. So the week before we closed, which I think we closed in March, the week before it was getting kind of weird. Lots of people talking to me about what was going on. And then, some people just being I don't think it's that big of a deal. It sounds like it's a flu. The flu happens every year. But then it changed overnight, like you said. Yeah, one day I was just talking to people, and the next day we were out of work completely. Luckily, I was pretty lucky in the fact that I did not lose my job, and I still was paid for my time off. And towards the end, we were working from home.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting to just have things change suddenly. And the most interesting thing for me has been coming to terms with the fact that it won't end anytime soon. It's September, and for me at very first, in all honesty, at first I was hell yeah, I kind of need a break. And I was this is gonna be a month, fuck yeah,
we're
send me home
by July.
Yeah, send me home, it's fine. But it just kept going. We eventually went back in May and we're working in the building, and then we opened back in June, but everything it feels is different. You don't have in-person programming, we have a mask mandate, but 50% of people where we live at least feel it's a conspiracy, and that's just I'm tired of chasing people down.
You have to wear that's something I didn't mention. We have to wear a mask 24/7 now, which surgery we wore on a lot anyway, and we used to have families anywhere and everywhere. They got rid of the families. The families aren't allowed in now. They can for if you're having a baby, but they have to stay in the room. They cannot leave.
Yeah. And
I was lucky enough I did get paid too when I did have time off, and then right when they ended that, we were coming back. So
yeah. And so for me, probably the most difficult thing is that being in a long distance relationship, and then suddenly being oh, we literally live in different countries, and the whole world has changed, and there's a whole fucking border.
Yeah, borders are closed.
There's a border, and we live in the U.S., so the way the U.S. has treated this is a joke. Pretty much anyone with at least 2 brain cells to rub together has figured it out. But yeah, that's a struggle. But I want to focus more on the good of quarantine, because I will say when I'm alone with myself for long periods of time, I'm my best self. And so many people I talk to are just yeah, I just hate it. I want to go places, and I nod, but I inside I'm God, take me back. I love isolation. This is who I'm supposed to be. But I was oh my God, it was so good, because I felt I had so much time for self-development. There's so many times to learn new skills. So I could practice, I got better at guitar. I took walks every day. Like, what a treat. Because sometimes I'm at work and then I come home and I'm like, my treat's the couch. Like, my dead body flopping like a fish onto the couch. And then I was finishing school, so I did that. But also, I got a Nintendo Switch and I started Animal Crossing, which is so fun because it was perfect. I didn't have to go outside, but I could live this whole life. I paid my bills. I watered the plants.
And then I go to work, just,
it was perfect. And then I got my favorite one, which is Pietro. And I don't know if you... Hold on, let me show you Pietro.
So Pietro is like a sheep.
Yeah.
No, yes, he's a ram. And he looks like a clown, and almost seemingly, you either really love him or you really
not
hate
at
him.
all what I expected this to. What? What's it? How do you say it?
I think it's Pietro.
Pietro? Not at all what I expected. When you said ram, sheep, not at all what I expected.
I love him. He's like the.
But I did say clown. I did say clown.
Well, yeah. So that.
He's like that.
Mostly clown.
You know that meme of like Harley and Joker when it was like.
He looks more like Ronald McDonald to me, but.
I do. I fuck with Ronald McDonald. Like when I was younger, they had those videos, and you could.
No, the VHS.
The VHS.
Dude, my friend still has those.
My favorite one was where they would go to the haunted house, which I feel like says a lot about my inner psyche.
I liked the Kermit Land.
Yes. And then was it Hermit?
Kermit? No. Oh my god. Kermit. No.
He looks like a big nugget.
Oh, no. Curtis.
No, it's not Curtis.
Damn it.
Never mind. But let me find the meme.
I'm in a crisis.
Gosh, there's this terrible meme that people share on like Facebook, and it has the Joker and Harley, and it's talking about how, like,
I think it is Curtis.
Like he was, I think it was Groupus or Grouper.
It's okay.
Oh no, it's
Grimace.
Oh no. I was thinking of like.
Austyn is perfectly fine being alone. I don't need to be around a lot of people, but I like having something to look forward to, like a trip. Like I was supposed to go to Canada like this past week and go to like Calgary, and I was gonna see all the sights. I was gonna take my mom. I was gonna show her the mountains, and it was gonna be so beautiful. I was so excited. I was like almost as excited for that trip as Paris.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, denied.
Outie.
I wanted it to be super dramatic. I want everyone to be able to hear the deny.
Good God.
So yeah,
we all felt that.
I hope you did.
Yeah.
I felt it like my heart did.
But one of like the most powerful things I did is I watched an entire season of Love Island, and
No. You did not watch all of Love Island. You dragged everyone into our Discord group and said, "Hey, get in here. We're watching
Love Island and what else?
Wait.
What's the
Wait. Okay, so I will preface. There's a disclaimer to make is that I drug everyone into Too Hot to Handle, hosted by Netflix.
What's the difference?
Well, Love Island, it has really long episodes. They're like an hour long, and then the seasons are huge. So man, that took like I would spend entire days on this.
90 Day Fiance too?
Yeah.
She also did that.
I couldn't get. I can only watch clips on YouTube, so that's as far as I got. But Big Ed.
Gosh,
What is
man.
it, miss?
But yes, like I just want to say Love Island though. It's so crazy though because all of these like super hot people come in and like they come in on like tanks and like on these fancy cars and they're all like in their bikinis and stuff from the get go and they're just ready to party and you're just like God and it just like and then there's the girls and they'll pick what guy they want to be with or vice versa
And one episode.
yeah, and they'll have like a pairing and then every so often they'll be like, okay, you have to pick a new pairing and like there's lots of drama from being like, so are they gonna choose the same person? And there's my favorite episode is where everyone's just chilling downstairs. It's nighttime and like they are kind of getting happy with their couplings and they're getting comfortable, but suddenly the host is just like, ooh, but some hot twins are coming. And then like these really like smoking hot like twins come in and they have like bleach blonde hair and like huge lips and like they're pretty, but like they were coming in to wreck it and they were suddenly like, girls, pick your man. And there's not enough people. So people are left alone.
I only watched started to watch what I watched because of the host. Is it Ariel Vandenberg? Is that how you pronounce her name?
I'm not sure.
Ariel. I don't know, but that's why I started watching it and I was like, what is this?
It was so good. It was so spicy from beginning to end, and like there was one couple where I felt so bad for the girl. Like this girl was trying, she was like a ride or die for the guy she was with, and they were together for a really long time, and then suddenly they like got the guys up at like 5 a.m. and they're like, we're going to another house. So they sent them to a whole other house with a bunch of other girls and put them into whole new pairings for like a week or something. And then they would come back and decide if they want to go back to their old couples. And like this guy was like, he was like, no. And he switched it up in her face. Like, I think her name was like Shanna. And she was just,
ooh.
You could just feel the tension because of how hard she had tried. And it was like soul crushing.
Yikes.
But
it was a good time for you.
Good time for you.
And for me, it was a good time.
Jordan,
your best life.
It's your turn.
What is going on with your quarantine?
So I work at the same place as Austyn, so we had a similar start to it, except what happened was the Friday before everything went down, I had called in sick because I had gotten really sick out of nowhere. I don't know. Well, it probably was COVID actually. So that happened that entire weekend. I was sick, and then that Monday we actually were supposed to go back that day. So Austyn, you did go. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You went. I called in a second day, and I was like, "Listen, like I'm trying my best. It's not like I'm just very sick, and I don't know what's wrong."
This is probably before people were like, before people were serious about like COVID.
Yeah. So then I got like a message later that day that said, "Just we're all staying home now," and I was like, okay. I wonder if I had it. So I probably did because I was sick for a good while, and my voice is still not fully back. It cracks a lot more. I wake up with sore throats almost every morning now. It's fine, but it's also not fine. Mm-hmm. It's not normal.
It's fine.
Yeah, well, actually, that's like interesting too because like earlier this year, like I got like randomly sick as well, and it was super terrible. Like for a month, I actually had really bad trouble eating. Like it was to the point that I was like Googling it. I was like, maybe I've like developed Crohn's or something.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people that we worked with, that whole area that you worked in, I think it was in December, that area where like they all got really sick, like one after the other. My boss got sick, and it could have been anything. It could have been that. It probably was that. But I mean, we didn't know. So, but yeah, but I had a pretty good time also.
Yeah.
I liked it after I got better. So that first couple of weeks, I was like, I'm gonna do something, and I found a blank canvas that you paint on, and I was like, I'm gonna paint. So I painted a whole thing, and it took me about 2 weeks. And it's funny because there was one day in March where I was like, you know what, it's so sunny outside, I'm gonna sit outside and paint. Ooh, I'm gonna be an outdoor person. So I set it up outside, and I didn't really think about it. And I think it was around 10 a.m. I went out there, 9 or 10 a.m. And then like 1 or 2, I think it was like 2 in the afternoon, my mom comes by and she's like, how long have you been outside? I was like, oh, ever since I woke up, not that long. She's like, it's 2. I was like, oh. And I walk inside, and the entire right side of my body sunburns.
Oh no.
Over here, but sunburns still exist.
It was also March.
You burnt the COVID off.
I burnt the COVID off. Right. Only half of it. Only the right half of my body. But yeah, so I got sunburnt. But then after that, I was like watching everything on YouTube. So like there was like so many nights where I'd pull up YouTube and be like, okay, we gotta watch something because we're bored. Nothing. I watched everything, every video.
I kind of feel that. Sometimes I get completely caught up and I'm like, what's left?
And it was right before Animal Crossing dropped, so I was like waiting minute by minute almost for that drop, weeks in advance. But finally it came out, and I spent way too long on there. Not much progress was made on my island, so it doesn't really show, but I put a lot of hours into it. But I played that for a while, and right before COVID hit, I had actually started a webcomic just to do for myself, which I did take a pause on it after we got back to working, because I got so used to like the workflow of being in isolation that like it was going really well for me. on doing that. I was still trying to figure out like my posting dates because I was like, am I gonna do like a couple pages a week? That's ambitious. I learned very quickly. So that was fun to figure out, and it was fun to do. But yeah, that's on pause right now, on off pause. And towards the end, there was an incident that happened. So my mom was staying with another family that we're really close with during that time, and I was over there because I was still seeing my parents during it, because it was going to happen either way. And I was over there, and the neighbors, I heard just like the loudest yelp and yelling, and I'm not going to get too into it, but basically there was animal abuse next door, and we ran out, we yelled at them to like stop hitting the dog, because that's basically what was happening. And then the guy, the dad of the family who was basically doing it, his little kids were out there egging him on too.
What?
The kids are just as bad. I've yelled at the kids before about it, like, don't hit your dog, and then the mom come up, like, are you yelling at my child? I'm like, shut up, Karen. But
yeah, I guess that makes sense though, because if your parents are like that, then the kids are definitely going to be.
He came over, he was like, that dog bit my son, and it's like a puppy dog. It's like a puppy, like not that old at all. And the kid the kid's fine. The kid was fine, perfectly fine.
Dogs bite though.
But then he came into our yard and started yelling at us and threatening us. So I was like, I'm gonna call the police. And he's like, do it. I'm like, okay. So I called 911, and they came, and they were dealing with it, but essentially not much happened, and he still has the dog, so it's fine, everything's great. But they did get a fine because they asked him, like, hey, did this dog even get its shots? Because you're supposed to give your dog its shots, because you're responsible for, like, a living being.
Yeah.
But he didn't, and he lied about it, and they obviously were like, no, you didn't. So he got like a couple $100 fine, and also because they thought, I guess, that the police had left, and I think it was the mom, she came back to the house that my mom was staying at and banged on the back door, and mom came out, and she was like, what? And she was like, da 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 da, like yelling at her about, you mind your fucking damn business, da, da, da. And the police heard it because she was screaming it so loud, which good parenting, because your kids are like hearing all of this, whatever. But the police were like, no, we're not doing this. But also the police didn't really do that much, so it's fine, because like we finally got a police report emailed to, I think one of us, we got it, and it was 25 words long. So that whole thing was summed up to 25 words. Wow. And we're like, could we get a little bit more?
Do you want me to write it for you?
Literally. And they didn't do that much. They just kind of like stopped the guy from going roid rage. That's it. But like, whatever. Because they were like, we can't really do much about the dog. So they called animal control to like deal with that part of it. But like, so nothing was done. There. But it's fine. Everything's great. But then after that, we worked from home a little bit. There wasn't much for my department to do, so I kind of did my best to work when I could, but we did go back to work pretty soon after that, almost immediately after that.
Yeah.
And I felt too soon. It felt too soon because I was like kind of getting like really used to the whole quarantine experience. So that kind of sucked to just be like ripped back into it, but that was my experience. That last part sounded kind of bad, but I had a good time.
No, it's okay. I understand too, because in a way, like I I don't think I've ever truly like experienced the feeling of living in a way that doesn't feel tied to like
it didn't feel like we were dying of exhaustion almost every day.
Yeah, I don't know. It made me think a lot about capitalism, which is so weird. But I was like,
it definitely hit.
I didn't really think about how much it takes from your life to work like a full-time week, like for example, and like how much that takes from you mentally and physically.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, but yeah, we went back, and I do understand though, because of the way our job is funded. There was probably lots of pressure, especially because not everyone realizes it, but a library is an essential service. So our director just made the choice to have us stay home for that period, which I am thankful for.
Right.
But yeah, I'm sure that there was lots of pushing to reopen. Because of that.
But yeah, that was kind of our quarantine experience. Yeah, it was pretty varying in what we all kind of went through.
Yeah, and I was like, man, I want to live off the grid now. Like, I need to figure out how to, like, be Hatchet or something.
Oh my gosh.
Burn all of your credit cards. We're going off the grid, baby.
I just want to live, like, I mean, I'm, like, packing to move now, and I just want to live, like, a minimalist life. And I've watched some, like, minimalist people on, like, YouTube, and it's just crazy, like, how, I mean, I feel like I could do it for sure, but how some people just live in, like, one suitcase. That's everything that they, like, own.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I like stuff.
I want to, but I just
stuff.
And I don't even, like, now that I'm packing, like, I was just on Poshmark before I came over today, and I'm selling a bunch of things, and I feel great. Like, I'm like, yes, it's like, it's going. But then at the same time, I still have all this other shit in my house. And I'm like, okay, like, I can get rid of this. I'm trying to get rid of it, even if I just, like, throw it out or donate it. But then there's still so much stuff. I'm like, how did I acquire all this? Why? I haven't seen this in 6 months. Like, why am I still holding on to it? And some of these things, like, I hold on to it and I'm like, yeah, but I don't really know why I'm holding on to it.
Yeah, right? No, I feel that because I was cleaning out my bookcase the other day because I just really had to. I was like, this is just too much stuff and I literally can't keep all of this. And even that was super hard because, like, for example, I had, like, my Twilight books from middle school, and I was like, you know, I don't think I've touched these since probably middle school, but, like, I have, like, some kind of, like, sentimental attachment to them, and this feeling of, like, but what if I need them?
That's exactly it. Like, I still have mine. Those are, like, one of the, like, few books that I, like, treasure, and when I read last time I, like, touched them was middle school, and when I touched them in middle school, I read them, like, a gazillion times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I should definitely get rid of these. But I'm like, I spent a lot of money on these books. Not that I'm, like, reading them again, but I don't know.
Yeah, I had to narrow it down and, like, really focus. Because for me, like, I, like, wanted to keep some cookbooks that I really, like, enjoy. I kept, like, a manga series that I, like, will die for. And then, like, I kept, like, some poetry books. But besides that, I was, like, for me, I was, like, man, I have not touched Twilight. And even though it sucks, like, I have to, like, I must send her back. She needs to go back to someone else.
I need to do that with my DVDs because I have so many DVDs and what are even our DVDs anymore? Like we have so many streaming services.
And you can literally purchase a digital, like, copy of things now.
That weighs 0 pounds.
And I like to think that if I have a movie night, I'm gonna, like, I still have a DVD player, and I probably still have a VHS player somewhere because of converting, like, our old home movies, and that's the only way I can do it is by, like, connecting it that way. But I'm like, I need to get rid of these because I'm sure I could find these on Netflix or, like, on free on Amazon Prime or something. But some of them are DVDs of series. And I'm like, I like fought so hard to get these. I'm just not like.
No, I understand. It's just super hard, but I guess it's a good thing because it makes you realize, like, how attached we get to, like, objects.
Yeah.
Even though they're literally just objects.
Yeah. I need to clean out a lot of stuff, but
I feel like that's what quarantine has, like, definitely, like. I have so much stuff because I just, like, sat in my house on the days that I was off. I was like, ugh, I have all this stuff. Like, I do not need this. I have not seen this in months. Like, so clearly I do not need it.
Yeah.
Quarantine.
Yeah. The last time I went through and cleaned stuff out, I had a goal in mind, and that was to make room for more plants. So, was not that productive. I did get rid of stuff, but I also bought more plants. So, I don't know. That's that.
Plants, yeah.
But speaking of all of that living situations, let's get a little bit more into living with our family members.
Yes. And I guess I'll preface this by saying that we are all people living with our families and we are in our, like, mid-20s. So I think that's important because, it's just an interesting experience that in some ways I feel like is not common, but also extremely common at the same time. Almost like there's, like, a stigma to where people don't talk about it. But, like, I read recently that
there's a lot more than they say.
There's the highest rate of people living at home is, like, right now.
Yeah. I think COVID has a lot to do with that too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that's, like, especially now, like you were talking about the stigma, how, like, a lot of people, I mean, I feel like it's more normal than we like to, like, talk about. And sometimes I feel like I'm at work and they're like, oh, you, like, live with your mom, and I'm like, Yeah, like, I mean, I do live, I like to say, like, my mom lives with me because she's on, like, partial disability just because of her back, and she's been like that forever, so, I mean, she lives with me, and I probably pay, like, 75% of things, and she pays, like, some bills, and, like, we're pretty much equal with this, but she makes, like, $700 a month.
Right.
Where can you live on that, like, today? Like, you cannot live on that.
Yeah.
Like, a place to stay and bills and food, like, you cannot do that. So it's like, she's living with me, so I'm helping her, and she's helping me, and I can pay student loans, and I don't know, it's like, why is it so, like,
and even beyond that, it's just like, why is there a need to explain that to anyone?
Especially
like,
if that works well for you.
And even beyond that, like, for me, I live with, so for a few years, I lived exclusively with my grandparents, and then my mom and my sister had moved in, and we live in a house together, so there's about 6 of us, and it's just, like, it feels like there's a stigma where you should almost feel sorry for that, but I was like, I don't really, because I think it's fine to enjoy living with your family.
And that's like, I don't know, I feel like you said that we feel like we need to explain ourselves, and I find myself at work, like, they'll ask me, like, oh, like, your mom lives with you, and I'm like, yeah, and I should just leave, like, yeah, she does. Yeah, but I feel like I need to explain myself, and I don't know why. I, like, need to get past that.
I also think that there's part of it that a lot of people where we live, especially, they don't have, like, good relationships with their parents. And we are very fortunate.
So for sure, like, if you don't live with your parents or your family just because you're not comfortable, like, that is fine.
That's very valid.
Because some people have that where they're like, they don't get along with their parents, it's not like a situation, or they, like, got out when they were younger because it wasn't a healthy, like, thing, but like, we're fortunate enough to where we have, like, a good relationship with the people that we live with, and that's, like, really great. Like, not everyone, a lot of people don't have that.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is, like, a thing of respect people's own situations. Which some are getting more respect than others, but I feel like in both situations, if you live alone and you're not, like, like, living very well in, like, a middle class life, then, like, you've got a stigma. But, like, a lot of people don't. But or if you live with your family and you're well to do because you're with your family, there's that stigma again. It's very
there's definitely in our culture this expectation that, like, around, like, 18, like, you are expected to move out, you're expected to be, like, independent, but I would say, like, even though I do live with my family, I feel like a very independent person.
Definitely.
I mean, I feel very grateful because on, like, one hand there is, like, a lot of privilege in being able to live with family and being able to get that help, and especially in a different sense than even a roommate, and that your family, like, if you have a good relationship, like, they've got your back if you need it. Because I've had so many situations, like, you know, like, an unexpected bill comes or something, and there's not the same amount of fear of, like,
how are you gonna get food?
Or am I gonna be homeless? Especially because, like, I'm sure it's relatable for people, but, like, especially growing up, like, poor, like, like, I don't know, you form a connection with your family, you have community with them.
Yeah, and, like, it doesn't help that, like, the healthcare, like, if you don't have, like, really, really good healthcare, like, it really hurts if you have, like, other priorities that you need to put your money towards. But
and I'm just, like, my mom had me when she was, like, 38, so she's older, and
what a queen.
Love her.
I feel like sometimes I'm just, like, we don't think about it a lot, but, like, with our parents being older, like, now, like, anything can happen. Like, there's people who are, like, 38 and having heart attacks and, like, done, and they have, like, you know, teenage kids, but for the I mean, she's pretty healthy for the most part, and I'm like, she's how old now? I don't know. I'm not even gonna try to, like, guess it. And she probably would appreciate that, but she wouldn't even appreciate the fact that I mentioned she was 38.
I don't even know how old we are.
How old are we? I don't. But we think about our parents aren't going to be around forever. Like, we are definitely, most likely, maybe not, who knows, knock on wood, we're going to outlive our parents. So, like, I'm living with my mom now. I have a great relationship with her. I kind of always had a great relationship with my mom. Like, even when I was in high school, like, she, like, always trusted me. I mean, like, she wanted to know where I was going if I was going out, like, when I was, like, younger. But for the most part, she, like, understood that I was going to make the choices and I was going to make the right ones. I never really got into trouble, and that was, like, just the kind of person I was, but she just was so trustworthy, and we've always had a good relationship, so why not, like, live with her now? And, like, we both have the, really, it's like, we're, like, roommates. Like, she does her own thing, I do my own thing, we split each other, we, like, help each other out with the bills, we argue still, we, like, definitely mother-daughter there's definitely fights and random, and then there's just like complete like love too. So it's like a lot of it's a lot in one house, but
yeah, I feel that too, especially with my grandparents. I feel very lucky to be like in my like mid-20s and to like be able to live with my grandparents.
Oh yeah, to still have your grandparents.
Yeah, so I like it. I like, honestly, anytime my family's like out of the house, I like notice like the difference. Like it's kind of like lonely. Like the other day, even my sister, she went to get a sleep study, and I was like, God, I miss her, even though she's such like a little worm.
That is okay. So my mom, like, I love like having like she went to Tennessee to see some family for a long weekend, and I'm just telling you, I was like so excited like for that moment. Like I was like, I get like the house to myself. I had no plans. I was on call. It was a holiday weekend. I was on call Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night. And, like literally, like the hospital owned me for almost a week. Like, in total of days.
They owned that ass.
Yes, I had nothing to do. I could only try. I could not go any farther than 30 minutes away. I stayed at home and I watched TV, and I just tried to be as independent. I did some laundry, and I watched a lot of Shameless, and I just watched so much, and I was like, this is so nice to like just be at home alone. And here in Newcastle, I feel perfectly safe. In Indy, when my mom would leave for like a weekend, it was different because I was still like, it just depended on when she was going, but I was like not downtown, but I felt a little bit more scared, even though my apartment was actually like inside. I just was like not used to this. In Newcastle, I feel completely fine. And I was like loving that time away. But I think when she's gone for like longer, it starts to get like really lonely, because I've like literally lived with her for 26 years. When they're like gone, I have a cat too. Like I've always had someone. You can't imagine like people. I mean, I'm sure some people love it. But like living on your own, just like you and maybe a pet, like maybe you're like perfectly fine with that. But it's like, I don't know.
Last night, okay, so I live with my dad and my brother right now. My mom has her own apartment. But like last night, they were both gone, and I had such a good experience. Like
yes,
no shade toward either of them, but like it felt so much better to be just me and my dogs. And because like normally when they're around, I don't feel like I really want to interact that much, just like on a personal level. Like it's very easy to get into an argument there, because we're all hot-headed. Like I am too.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm probably the one that instigates most fights. I'm a fighter. So
we stand honesty.
I feel yes.
So it was just me, and I knew it was gonna be me the entire night. And I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna clean the entire kitchen, because there's no dirty hands here that's gonna fuck shit up. So I cleaned the stove, the countertops, like I cleaned like the hand wash dishes that needed to be done. I went through everything, and I just cleaned and just had a good time. Like I had my iPad propped up on like a little stand. I was watching like a bunch of haunted videos, and I was good. Like don't mess with me, don't talk to me. I'm in my zone. I was thriving.
I feel like that's something like even if you're married and you're living with your spouse or your significant other, and you like need a break.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if it's your mom, your dad, your family, your grandparents, your whatever, whoever you're living with. You need a break from these people that you're around 24/7.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm probably with, and it's just like work people too. Like I work in a place where I work there 5 days a week. I'm around my work people as much as my like family. And you need a break from everybody. So quarantine was nice because you got a break from those people.
Yeah.
And then going back to work, you get a break from your family, and everybody needs a break.
Yeah. Everyone
like
needs
you cannot be around these people, and some people, you need to be alone for like at least a couple. I mean, you need some self-care.
Right.
So
yeah, with everyone, like no matter how much I love anyone, like whether that's family or friends, like sometimes you're like, I need that day.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've talked about like the pros mostly of that, a little bit of cons, but.
I have a lot of cons.
I have a couple cons, and some people may not consider them to be cons.
Right.
But living with my mom. I've always just lived with my mom. My parents got divorced when I was super young, but like she still sometimes treats me like I'm like a kid.
Your baby,
like my baby, and I'm her only kid, so that is understandable.
Like forever baby.
So we kind of discussed like they're always around.
Yeah.
So that's a con. Some people will not consider that a con, and we won't consider that a con when they're gone. But they treat you like you're still a kid, and they want to know everything and anything. Where are you going? Not that she cares, but it's like they kind of like want your attention.
Right, and they just like want to know you're safe too.
Yeah, and I totally get that. And these are not all cons. Like for I mean, they're like a partial, like, I don't know.
It's just it's family struggle, yeah.
It's a struggle. And so, like, little things, my mom does not go to sleep with dirty dishes in the sink. I get that, right? Like, I totally get that. But at the same time, there's like 2 plates in the sink. I'm gonna wait until there's like a little bit more, and then I'm gonna do them all together. I have a dishwasher, but I don't use the dishwasher. I'm just gonna do them all together. And then there's laundry. I'm gonna make sure the laundry's full, basket full, so it's worth a load to do. But she's like, I'm gonna do the dishes. I'm gonna clean. I'm gonna do your laundry. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna fold them. Blah blah. Like, they're gonna be ready.
That's powerful.
And I'm like, I can do my laundry myself. Like, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I wish that she would give me the chance to do my own things. Like, I will do the dishes.
That does.
You're just not giving me the chance.
I will say that happens to me sometimes too. Maybe because there's so many of us, but like, your mom might be kind of like my mom too, in the fact that I feel like sometimes she shows love in her cleaning.
Yes.
And I'm like so thankful, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally would have done some of this.
Yes.
And like help you, but thank you.
Yeah. It's not like I'm lazy and like things are just lying around and like I'll get to it in like a week or two. It's like, I want to wait till it builds up enough worth to take my time to do it. And I get that you're just doing it as she thinks about it, but it's like, I really feel bad. Like, I will do the dishes, but she's just like, I'll just do them now. I'm just going to do them now. And sometimes, like, we were doing HelloFresh, and I'll make a HelloFresh meal, and I will have our plates, like, made out. And I'm like, okay, let's go eat. And I'll go, like, get my plate, and I'll, like, go sit down, and we'll, like, watch a movie. And then she'll, like, okay, I'm just going to clean up before I eat.
My mom does that, too.
Oh, your food is going to get cold. I was like, I told you I would clean up. I'm going to do it. And she's like, no, I'm just gonna clean up real quick.
It drives me crazy too, because there's like 6 of us, and I always, and my Nana, she'll just start like screeching, which I love her, but she'll be like, tell your mom supper's ready, tell your mom supper's ready. I was like, okay, I'll tell her. But then every day it's the same, because mom's gonna be like, let everyone else get their plate first, and Nana's gonna be like, come eat. And then
that's how my mom is. But my dad's the opposite. Yeah. He's kind of like, so if like there's dishes that need to be done, not immediately, but they're like kind of getting there, he will be like more aggressive, like, why aren't these dishes done? Like, annoyed about it. But the thing is, I don't make most of the dishes. Actually, I'm the only one in the house that will participate in getting things clean or helping out around the house. I pull my weight. My dad pulls his weight. My brother does not pull his weight. And he makes the most dishes, spends the most, like, he wastes, he's very wasteful. But the thing is, when I do the dishes, it becomes like, oh, well, thank you, you didn't have to do that. But it's like, yes, I did.
That literally happens to me too, like you
literally
were gonna kill
him about it, because it's not even like a bad thing, it's just like a funny thing of like, oh my god, you little troll.
I get that too, like, you don't have to do that, and it's, but, oh god.
Like, no one helps me around here. Oh, but you didn't have to do that.
Like, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, same. I think, it's interesting too, because like everyone has like different habits. Like, when you said your mom's like dishes, my dish habit is I love to do them as soon as I've like had them, because that way they're not sitting. Like with food, sometimes it kind of like gets me, so I love to do dishes as soon as I get them, but not everyone will do that. And then sometimes my nana will say like, why is nobody doing the dishes? I'm like, queen, mine are done.
And that's why, like, we're all like independent in our own ways. It's like you find your own like even when you're living at home, like, you're independent enough, you're paying your bills, you're like either doing your dishes like this, or you're doing, like, everyone has their own like style and way of doing things.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, and my mom, like, another thing, like, I'm gonna bake us like a cool dessert. I'm gonna like make us a meal. And I'll like go through and I'll like make it all, and she's like, I clean up as I go. You should really learn to clean up as you go. And I'm like,
oh, that's backhanded.
The more you say this, the more you say this, more like, I am Linda.
And I'm like, Mom, okay, like, sometimes I will do that if it's not like a crazy, like, or if I have something that's baking and I can like do all these while it's baking. But if it's a recipe where everything has to kind of be done at the same time, things go in the sink, and then I enjoy the fruits of my labor. And then I go back. I do it, but then she's like, I'm just gonna go do it.
Yeah, you're like Olivia, and I'm Linda.
So yes.
Whenever I start to make food, I always get that, okay, but don't make a mess. I do clean up after myself. It's just during the process, I make a little bit of a mess, but I clean it up after.
It's so hilarious. So Olivia's gotten really into baking, which is awesome. I don't know. I feel like kind of like a mom in a way, because like when like someone younger than me gets really into something, I just want to like nurture it. Like I want them to enjoy it. Because what if they become like Gordon Ramsay? I don't know. Like who knows? Like I don't want to be that.
I feel like if anyone could, it would be Olive.
Yeah, I feel.
She can do everything.
But she's so funny because like I'm realizing now that like all families are the same, because they also tell her to like don't make a mess every single time, or like complain about like stuff, and then she's like, but who ate 5 cookies?
Oh.
So funny because she talks to me downstairs and she's just like. I shouldn't even say, but it's like so hilarious because it's all of us included. But she was like, "Wow, those little piggies." It's so funny because she knows she's so done, and she's like, "Wow, I keep laboring for these people, and I'm not the one that eats 5 at one go."
I love her. Oh my god.
God, she goes in for the kill.
She does. And especially, she was like, and it's not you, Austyn, because I'm like the one person in my family who like, I'm not like ride or die for dessert. I like dessert, but like, I'm always someone that I like want to save it for like the perfect moment that I really want it. But since my family loves dessert so much, that means I end up getting none of it.
Well, here's what you need to do, and this is what me and my dad have learned to do. And I hope my brother never hears this because it's not going to work out anymore.
That'll be a fight.
Not even a fight, it just won't work anymore. But we have a hidey hole where we hide all of our food because we'll leave our name on it. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. We can like try to hide it, but if it's not good enough, he'll find it and he'll be like, "Oh, you tried to hide it? Well, I'm going to eat it."
What if you made something like really terrible?
Well, then he'll feed it to the dog. Because the other day I had wheat thins that had my name on because I bought them from the store, and like anything that I buy that my dad doesn't buy for me, because like sometimes he'll just do that because he's like, "I'm just gonna get the groceries. What do you want?"
Which is also a pro of living with your
it
parents.
Yes, and I appreciate it so much.
Yes.
But when there's something that I spend my own money on, then it's like a little bit personal when someone that you don't get along with either eats your food, or in this instance, he fed all of my wheat thins to the dogs. And Holly, sure, she's fit. Lucy's a little overweight, so don't feed them. A, don't feed them people food. B, that's mine. So I'm like, hey, that's mine.
Oh,
And I got so mad that I shouldn't say this either.
Say it.
He has like soda in the fridge, and I grabbed it and I shook it.
I can't.
I wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I was expecting.
I grabbed the whole case.
Can that be the?
I got my anger out and I put it back.
This will be the
the cartoon edit. Like,
yes, this will be the clip. This is it.
Animatic. We
Oh
just
my god.
going to town on the Coke.
This is it.
I was
This
like,
is it.
yeah, because I was like, it had to have been that, or Olivia saying those little piggies.
Yes. One of them. Oh my god.
Yeah. So now I'm really mad and there's nothing I can do. Like, cause I told you I'm hot-headed, so I have like a lot of like anger that like sometimes builds up, especially when there's not someone for you to just yell at besides the dogs. But I'm not gonna do that to my babies. So I grab his Coke out of the fridge and I just shake it.
Oh boy.
Don't judge me.
Okay, but I was not expecting that. I don't know, like what I thought. I don't really know, like what I was expecting you to like get back at him, but like I feel like I expected almost like something worse, like. But you're like, I grabbed a can of Coke and I shook it.
No, not a can, a case.
A case, and just shook
You
it.
gotta go all or nothing.
I took my whole.
This Coke is really flat.
I took the whole fridge and I picked it up and I shook it like Hulk. I put it back and I walked away.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
So don't eat my food or I'll make your soda go flat.
Is this what we've learned? This is what we've learned.
Yeah, that's how you get back at people.
Quarantine
that's
has
what it's
brought
like.
out a new side of all
And that's
of
what
us.
it's like living with your siblings still,
Yes.
especially if they are well-to-do and they bought their own land. By the way, he can leave at any time, but I feel like he knows that like he can make more money, which he has a pretty okay job. He just lucked out, and he acts very privileged and like kind of like Jeff Bezos kind of like attitude towards money of like, well,
like
he you kind of thing.
And I feel like he does a lot of these things just to like
he bought land and he can
just to itch that.
He's like, well, I was gonna build a house on it, but now I'm like, well, what if I just want something else? So he keeps like making excuses, and I'm like, I see right through you. So I take his Coke and I shake it.
And shake it.
I feel like he's just like because he can, like not with no purpose at all. Like all this money, and doesn't really know what to do with it.
I mean, it seems kind of aimless and maybe almost sad.
Oh yeah, he's pathetic.
I can't.
She's gonna go home now, and she's gonna shake another.
We'll have like a communal Olivia. We'll just share her.
Yeah,
the only
Olivia's
sibling.
my sister. Yeah, so it's fine.
Honestly, I think I got kind of lucky because I have Olivia and Steven.
Yeah, I
have no siblings. I'm an only child, but I feel like my friend Amanda has a kid who's almost 3, Olivia, and I like almost feel like what it feels like to have like a little sibling that like your parents are like all about, which I mean, good for you. Like she finally like has something to like focus on.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I find myself being like the authoritative, like with Olivia. My mom's like, oh, she just let her do this. It's just at home. And today I was like taking a shower and she was doing something, and sometimes my mom is just like, we'll give her. She's like, here's a surprise. Like she just loves to spoil her. And then I'll come, she'll be doing something and she won't always like listen to my mom. And I like peeked my head out of the shower and I was like, Olivia. And I won't always, like, I think she was, like, biting her or something, and she was like, I could hear her from the bathroom, like, don't do this or whatever.
She's biting?
And my mom doesn't get, like...
Do you babysit?
My mom I don't so much. My mom babysits all the time for them when they're working. And so she's around a lot, and I'm just like, Olivia,
So you're like the no parent.
Yeah.
And she's like the yes parent.
Yeah, pretty much, yes. My mom, and my mom said this, like, she like will listen to you like more than she will me, and I'm like, it's because you give her like all these things. And, like, yes, I think she respects you, but she like also knows that she gets things from you, and she gets things from me. But at the same time, I don't want to say I get annoyed with her, but I'm like, no, stop it. And I'm like, I have kids. How am I like this authority?
No, I have that experience too with my sister though, because like my family's been pretty easy on her, and I've always like had that same personality of being like very much like no is no, and I feel like that builds character, and like it actually I think it helps you just learn. But my family always says that too. They're just like, Olivia listens to you. Will you do this? And I'm like, I wonder why she listens. Like, I just tell her to do it.
And I think, like, Olivia, she's a good kid. Like, she's a good kid. Like, any, like, little 2.5, 3-year-old. But, I don't know. I think it's just the way my mom is with her. And, like, she listens to my mom, but I feel like she does listen to me more. But then I turn right around and I feel bad, like, for getting kind of stern with her.
Well, if you don't do that, then you're going to end up with my brother.
You have to lead by fear.
I know. I told her, and I was like, and I don't, like, yell at her. I do not, like, yell at her, and I don't, like, spank her because that's not my job unless, I mean, I don't ever, like, spank her. But I will get, like, stern with her. Like, I will, like, where she knows, like, I'm serious. And then I turn around, like, and I feel bad, and I'm like, okay. And then I peeked back out, and I was like, we don't bite, okay? That's not something we use. She was, okay. I was like, tell Lala you're sorry. She was, sorry, Lala.
Oh.
So I'm like, I feel bad, but it's like, okay, but if I don't do this, it's like, and I know like her mom disciplines and her dad does too, but it's like, she's going through a lot of changes with all their like stuff that's happening. Yeah. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, she sees us just as much. We can discipline her. And my mom can just be that, like, yes, like
a grandma.
It's her, yes,
grandma.
It is literally like her grandbaby. That like, it's her grandbaby.
Just don't let all that power go to her head.
Yeah, but yeah, that's super important too, because she's like, if you think about babies, like they're so like pure, like they don't know.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Like they literally
they're
don't
sponges,
know. Like when you're like you have to say sorry. She's like, sorry.
And then you're nice to her again afterward. You're like, oh my god. You're learning.
Yeah. Also, your mom made me think of my Nana because Cheyenne, like, so since we're all so busy, I only see Cheyenne, like, it doesn't feel like super often, but every so often, my Nana will just give me something, and she'll be like, this is for Scarlett, and I'm like, okay, and I just, like, accumulate them until Christmas.
And Cheyenne and Scarlett Cheyenne's our friend that we also went to high school with, and Scarlett's her little baby girl.
She'll definitely be a guest.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Cheyenne, an icon.
Cheyenne will have her own experiences for sure. That she can talk
there's
about.
so much, like, every time we run into her.
There's so much happening. Like, it'll be great.
Yes.
But I do feel like that. Like, Olivia, like, my cousin Amy, like, her, like, boyfriend's parents are always like, today I got in their truck, and I was like, what's this? And they're like, oh, that's Bubbles. Give them to Olivia.
Okay.
Okay. Jeez.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's everything we had to say for this first podcast.
First episode.
It was a lot of chaos.
A lot of chaos. A lot of stuff happened.
But we learned a lot about all of that and about each other a little bit more.
Yeah.
Especially how I like to shake people's sodas.
Yes. I'm glad that I know that. Mm-hmm.
And Austyn likes to drag anyone into a trashy reality TV show.
Oh yes, I love it. I just
I
love it, especially when I've already seen it, and then afterwards you can just like stare and be like, "It's funny, right?"
And then I'm like, "I'm gonna die." Thanks.
Everyone just humors me. Yeah.
I mean, one reference definitely. She really appreciates it, but I'm like, well, I guess I'm here.
And that's also Marcy, my partner, is
so
also
I do like
like
to drag it too. So Marcy and me get along when we drag the hell out of the show you like.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh yes.
But yes, we're going to be getting our social media together, so you'll be like seeing more of us, and like this will be like professional and legit. This will be a legit podcast.
And if
so
there's any hiccups, this first run, I mean, we're still learning. We're gonna have better setup.
Yes,
we're learning as we go. So I appreciate anyone who's listened this far and has like dealt with it and is letting us learn.
If you're still here, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And like, if you have any complaints, then just like honestly, fuck off. It's episode 1. Like,
oh my god. But yes, please do.
Just you know how it is. Whatever.
There's also constructive criticism, so if you have any advice, we also do appreciate that.
Yeah, and we'll start a GoFundMe if you'd like to complain and then buy us something new. Just kidding.
If you'd like to help us with our equipment, I mean, questions, comments, share it with your friends. Give us topics that you want to hear about.
Yeah,
that would be really fun.
I don't know. Give us whatever.
Yeah, I would love to hear topics because we're recording them, but I'd like to hear what other people like are interested in.
Yeah, what do you like to listen to? We might be able to give you that.
Yeah.
I know we all like a little bit of everything.
Yes.
We all have our own interests.
Yes.
And you'll probably hear an episode on that eventually.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're about to wrap up. We're an hour in, so...
Nice. We love you.
We love you. Thank you, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.